People have been talking about the bubble in college basketball since January 1st. Yes or no, right? Well, this is the bubble, and that's the bubble. And look, a dear friend of mine, Joe Lunardi, is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. He's carved out a living doing this. He's 5'1".
All right, welcome in. That was Phil Martelli. It's the Maize and Blue Review, Afternoon Live. I'm Dennis Fithian, and we're here every day at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports. And, you know, we'll talk with Larry Lage from the Associated Press in just 1 second. It was very strange, though, listening to Phil Martelli. I'm like, wow, the coach ripping on Joe Lunardi, saying he's 5'1". I thought, well, he's got to be taller than that. And, I looked it up, how tall is Joe Lunardi. I found something that said he was 5'11", but then I looked. It's like, he's a Philly guy, and he went to St. Joseph's, and there it is, Martelli ripping on Joey Brackett's Joe Lunardi because he can, because that was a Philly shot, Larry. That's what was going on there. What's going on?
How are you, brother? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm doing good, man. Waiting for the game tonight to get fired up, and I was just listening to Martelli there. Usually, he's pretty straightforward, everything else, but when I heard him take a little shot at Lunardi, a little I don't know, size joke, I thought, what's going on there? But then I worked at it, and I figured it out, man. He's St. Joseph's guy.
There you go. Nothing gets past you. You're a sleuth reporter.
Well, in that one, I don't know about that. Big game tonight. You're going to be out there. You just getting ready to walk over in a little bit. What's the story there?
Yes, sir. I will be there. My fifth game in 6 nights. No, 7 nights. Fifth game in 7 nights after 3 weeks in China. It's been wall-to-wall hoops. This will be the third time I'll have seen Michigan since I came back, and saw Michigan State's big win over Purdue, and saw the women's matchup with Michigan State. So I've been wearing out a short path from my house on the south side of Ann Arbor to Chrysler Center. I still kind of call it Chrysler Arena, but always fun when these two teams play. And for Michigan, a big game for its bubble watch for sure.
Yeah, I think Michigan needs it more, like however you want to look at it. My own bracketology, I think if Michigan wins 2 out of their next 3 games, I think they can feel pretty good on Selection Sunday. If you just take away the Big Ten tournament for a second, I think they could feel pretty good with their resume about getting in, but they've just won one of them. I think it's a tenuous situation. If they lose all 3, I don't think they're going to get in, and then they might have to go to Indianapolis and certainly get to the weekend there. Michigan State, while they're not blowing the doors off of everyone. What did they lose? 4 or 5 out of 6 there before getting that big win against Purdue over the weekend. They feel pretty good, but they got some things to play for. But this is a bigger game for Michigan.
I think without a doubt it is. Michigan had a big win in the first game without Martelli, and then a letdown of sorts. The players seemed flat, the crowd seemed flat, and at that point, Michigan couldn't even really say it was tired, because they actually got a few days off before that last game. But the quick turnaround, only 1 day to prepare for the Spartans, who won the first matchup thanks to a lot of depth that they have that Michigan frankly doesn't. But the best players on the court potentially are wearing maize and blue. We just don't know, who's going to show up. Caleb Houston has had 21 points in the last 2 games. Hunter Dickinson did not have a great shooting game against Kofi Coburn and the Illini. Really, I would agree with you, a bigger game for Michigan than Michigan State. But you would never get Tom Izzo to believe that. They need to get some momentum going here at the end of March or going into March. As you said, Michigan State was struggling before that game over Purdue, a really impressive, gritty matchup in which they didn't have the best players on the court, and they still won the game. So Edey and Ivy were really good against Michigan State. And that Purdue team's really good. You don't hang around the top 10 all season for nothing. But Michigan State has not been consistent this season, game to game, within a game. So, they're kind of like a box of chocolates. You're never sure what you're going to get. Will it be the savory caramel tonight or the coconut no one likes? Or we could go punchkis. I saw that. I saw the punchkis there on the slide before I came in, and I did have a couple today from a place that I would actually bet a lot of money that you've been to the place I went today. Going back to your roots, college roots at least, where did I get my punchkis today?
Well, there's got to be a Polish restaurant in Ypsilanti that we're thinking of, and that one's not coming to me. How about donuts? When you think Ypsilanti donuts, yeah, right there on Washtenaw. Yeah, I know where that's at. Dom's. All right. My wife would kill me if I did. She would, and she should now that I didn't get it right. But yeah, Dom's. There you go.
I'm glad I didn't bet. Because I would have had you with a quick Dom's Donuts on that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I should have remembered that. No, you're right about that. And you never know. So there's been a lot of times, like you see the punchkis up there that I have, who hasn't taken a bite, like, oh, plum or whatever, oh, raspberry, here you go, or custard. You look at Michigan here, and they've got a lot of nice numbers going for them, metrics wise. When you look at their net rankings and their strength of schedule, and now that just most recently San Diego State moved into a quad win, but I take all that. I'm throwing it out of the window here. Tonight they want to win to get, if they got to get 2 out of 3, and it'd be good to go ahead and do it at home tonight, where you don't have to win the next 2 where you feel like they're must wins. Plus, you don't want to go 0-2 against Michigan State. And another one, you got Tom Izzo. You don't want Tom Izzo celebrating the all-time Big Ten win record, passing up Bobby Knight tonight on your home floor. And I know, Larry, you'll already have it punched. You probably already do. Tom Izzo, went past, got a victory against his rival, and passed up Bobby Knight for the all-time wins list. That'll be your lead.
663 wins that would be if the Spartans win that, and that number is queued up for sure. And yet a really rare matchup tonight. What is rare about this Michigan State basketball matchup? And I'm not going to be able to give you the historical significance in terms of time frame, but I think there's something very unusual about tonight's game, Dennis. Can you pick it out of my brain?
Well, let me think about it here. First time that Michigan's going with an associate head coach. That would be too easy. It's the
good one.
300th matchup between the two teams. I don't know. Those are my.
When's the last time? And I'll do a little Googling here. When's the last time these two teams met and neither team was ranked?
Oh. Well,
like a Bob Trippy question. Bob's one of my guys. And I'll do a little searching while we're talking, but that is rare, right? One of these teams is usually ranked, and obviously not so tonight. Michigan State just outside of the top 25. Michigan a long ways away from it.
I think it's happened though. I'll say within the last 10 years. I'll be surprised if I think that you might be able to slip one of those in there.
Okay,
but let's see. Because I don't know. State's usually. Under Tom Izzo, I think they're always ranked, and if they weren't, Michigan is over the last 25 years. You're going to tell me you got to go back over, I'm going to say in the last 10 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not at my fingertips on a game by game, but I'll have to get back to you on that. But rare for sure.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is, and both teams, like when before Michigan State had taken down Purdue, Michigan had passed them up in some of those metrics that I was putting up there about. The net rankings and some of that stuff. And then, State with Michigan's loss, and then with Michigan State's win, State's back up there. But I don't know, that gets me to, thinking about just where the ceiling is for these teams. I think Michigan, they've been win-loss in all the month of February, but here it is March. It would be nice. I'm not sure that they could string 2 wins together. So it feels like, they could win tonight, lose against Iowa, beat Ohio State, get in, and then maybe win a game in the Big Ten tournament, maybe win a game in the NCAA tournament. But I'm having a hard time seeing them, put together 2 wins. Although I put up a graph of if the Big Ten basketball tournament was being played today, it would be nice if this is how it actually played out. If Michigan was there on the 8-9 line, where if they won, they would meet Wisconsin. I think everybody wants to see that. And then, a Michigan State, Illinois in the quarterfinals. I think everybody's rooting for that, Larry.
Yeah, no, I think that would be fun. I mean, you definitely would have the Michigan-Wisconsin matchup intrigue with Juwan Howard scheduled to be back on the bench. I don't see there any reason why that wouldn't happen. But obviously Indiana, if that's the matchup, that's not easy because they'll be playing for their tournament bubble hopes as well, hoping not to burst them there. The Big Ten tournament should be a lot of fun. And I think all Big Ten followers would probably be ready for someone in the conference to end the drought that now is at 22 years. The Big Ten is a tremendous basketball conference, and yet in the NCAA tournament, there's not been anyone from the conference to cut down the nets since Michigan State in 2000 when I was still working for the Lansing State Journal, of all places.
You know what they say about that? The drought is now old enough to drink.
Yeah.
21 years. And that's some good information that you were back there in Lansing. Larry.
How about that? Oh, I like that. That's a fancy slide.
Well, I was looking at your updated Twitter bio here, and you had that you covered ski jumping and Nordic combined at the 22 Olympics. And I wanted to ask you about that because while you were there, I did pop this particular picture.
Yes.
It's a pretty fascinating photo. If people are watching this, if you're listening to it on the podcast, I'll do my best to, paint the picture here for you. But the old ski jump. Now it's a picture from the very top without the snow on here. Tell me a little bit about this photo.
So this photo is at the top of the ski jump. One of the ski jumps. This is what they call the normal hill, where ski jumpers go down a decline of about 34 degrees, and they go off a ski jump and clear the distance of 1.5 American football fields. So I'm sure a lot of your listeners are Michigan fans. That would be akin to taking off from the student section and landing at Ann Arbor Golf and Outing or maybe somewhere on Stadium there. That's how far these ski jumpers clear air when they go off. I actually took this picture from a perch that I would describe as sitting on top of a 40-story building. So imagine these fearless athletes sitting on a bar on a 40-story building and then letting go and going down a 35-degree decline at about 60 miles an hour. And right at the end, they want to basically jump up, all leg movement, nothing in their upper body, and clear about 150 yards. And
how'd you get up there?
And land. So I got there by my as we would say back in the day, Tom and Jerry, by foot. I was not supposed to go up there, but I've been in a lot of places I'm not supposed to be just by looking like I belong there. And despite the shape I've got into, I had to stop 2 or 3 times to catch my breath because this is at about 6,000 feet elevation, which is akin to some places in Utah. If any of your listeners have been there, I am not used to being in elevation down here in Ann Arbor and surrounding parts. So the elevation got me and the steps. So I got up there and slid to the right as far as I could without falling and snapped that picture that I shared. A good find there from you, Dennis.
I liked it. I wondered if you sat in the football parlance in the end zone, or were you there at the 50? It looks like seating.
So right here, I'm in the end zone. I'm high atop the end zone, and it'd actually be really kind of similar to the decline in the steps. So it'd be like sitting at the top of the bowl and going down a decline, taking off at the brick wall of the end zone and landing somewhere around Stadium Boulevard or maybe in the fence area.
When you were covering it, were you indoors there, or did you?
So I was indoors during the actual ski jumping, and then I had to go outside in what they call the mix zone, which is where the athletes, the Olympians, they first do a on-field, if you will, ceremony where they would get the little panda, which was kind of a keepsake, and then the next day they'd get their medal. So they get their panda, they'd take some pictures, and then they would go through an interview all the TV rights holders from all the different countries, and then they would get to the Associated Press, Reuters, and the Olympic News Service, and then they would go talk to the other writers. So I would be outside after the events for about an hour in wind chill that was about 20 below, and sometimes I had wet socks, and I've never been colder in my life than I was there. Another picture I shared was of icicles on my eyelashes. That's how cold it was.
You look like you're going to Euphoria High School.
Yeah, here in the great state of Michigan, our weather is similar, but I don't ski and I don't ice skate. I don't spend a lot of time outside, so I was not ready for the elements there in China. But I had hand warmers and got some new gloves from Bivouac in Ann Arbor, and I was as prepared as I could be. But nothing really prepares you for minus 20 wind chill.
Did you bring back a panda? I mean, I got a lot of questions for you about the Olympics.
Yes, yeah, fire away. I've got answers. I did. Yeah, I got two, one for each of my kids. I got a backpack that my son claimed as his own. I'm hanging on to my hat that I got. My daughter got my thermos. And I brought my wife some of those macaroon cookies from Paris, which I love. But yeah, I was in China for 3 weeks, had to get 2 tests in the days before I went, including one at a Chinese facility in Livonia that looked a little questionable from the outside, and but got my test there, including an antibody test that I was not expecting.
Not Livonia, Michigan.
I'm sorry?
Livonia, Michigan, or
yes,
okay,
Livonia, Michigan. Yeah, so before I went, I had to get 2 tests in the days before I went, including one at a Chinese-approved facility. The closest one to me was in Livonia, and the place was a little sketch. And I literally had a bruise on my arm for about a week from an antibody test I was not I didn't think I signed up for. And then when we got to China, everyone was in hazmat suits at the airport, which was a little unsettling. And then I got a COVID test that was as aggressive as a COVID test as I've ever had in my life, like tickled the back of my brain. I'll have nightmares about it. I've had about 40 because I'm in the Detroit Lions bubble. So I'm subject to do a lot of tests there. And then we would get tested every morning from 6 to 9 a.m. And to leave the hotel, you had to scan your credential and barcode. And if you were tested and negative, it would say thank you in English and Mandarin. If not, you got sent back to get tested or go back to your room. We were fenced in. The buses came and the fence went up, fence went down. You get in the bus, fence went back up, fence went down. Police at the fence. So we were pretty much locked down. Hotel, venue, and shuttle. And that's it.
Well, the things that you do for the great story, you did a wonderful job. Well, you parachuted back here into college basketball land here. I wanted to, wrap it up with a question about Michigan and the Juwan Howard suspension here. It captivated everybody for about 48 hours. Do you think that after the fact here, was it something, a mountain out of molehill? No big deal, big deal? Does it depend on, what happens here to Michigan, how this story plays out? How did you see it?
Well, I found out about this, speaking of China, I found out about this in the airport while waiting for my flight home. Noah Trister, who used to be my colleague here, is now in Baltimore, goes, "Hey, Larry, look at this." And he showed me his phone and the replay, and I said some words that were not choice, and I won't repeat because I knew I was coming back to a big story. So wrote a 600-word story that had to be updated with the actual news, and that news came out as I was back on American soil in a lift on my way to Ann Arbor. The punishment was about where I thought it would be, and I think that's pretty fair. I did not think he was going to lose his job, and I thought it was going to be more than the conference minimum of 2 games. I would not have been shocked if he spent the entire season and postseason on the bench. But I think the punishment matched the mistake, and there were guilty parties on both sides in terms of Juwan Howard and Greg Gard. But you just cannot, and if you're in Juwan Howard's situation, swipe at someone, no matter what was said or done. The bar has to be higher at Michigan, and I don't think it helped that the university has had its image and brand dragged in the mud by the former president Slissel or the late Anderson doctor fiasco. So, he's the basketball coach at a school that is very proud, that has had some humbling moments, and they certainly had to take swift action here because that was not a good look.
No, well, hopefully Martelli, the associate now acting head coach here for the next 3 games, can bury your lead about Tom Izzo and make this about, Michigan taking a big-time step into getting off the bubble and into the NCAA tournament, rather than it being some kind of green and white parade down at Chrysler tonight. That's what's the motivating factor.
Well, you always have both stories ready to go before the final buzzer. So okay. Just to take you inside how the sausage is made a little bit there, Dennis.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. I always thought you just would go with what you thought. And then if you're like, oh, heck, with 2 minutes to go, I better start writing something else.
Well, that happens sometimes too. I would definitely say that happened when there was trouble with the snap. I did not have both angles ready that night. Sorry to bring that up. I'm sure that still haunts you.
You know what? I don't listen to those words, consecutively strung together when I say, oh yeah, the Harbaugh's first year game, we call that, the ending, the unfortunate ending.
Well, I'm sure with the Michigan State game resuming, Divided We Stand will be trotted out by the Big Ten Network. And they actually quoted me talking about that game where I said, oh, my God. Something I've said a few times. Aaron Rodgers' Hail Mary at Ford Field was one of those times. I think the Ducat Clock game and Galarraga's imperfect game. I think those 3 words, which – especially going into the Lenten season, I don't like to use the Lord's name in vain, but I would not say that was in vain. That's a special occasion where I break out the, oh my God. The Brawl of the Palace, though, I don't think I said anything. I just got out of the way and let Rick Mahorn break it up while I went the other way and was on the court.
The TV personality, I think his name's Jamal Spencer. He works in is it Flint or Grand Rapids? Maybe, I'm not sure.
I know you're talking about.
I just remember that game, the Harbaugh's first game against Michigan State, the ending. I mean, he was outside the stadium doing like a stand-up, like whatever, like it was over. So he was over there like, yeah, Michigan gets the victory and everything else. That was one of the great.
He needed a little help in the ear by his producer that night. But it could happen to anyone for sure.
Oh, sure. He's a great guy. He does an outstanding job, and I like him. But that's the one that I'll remember. I'm not taking a shot at him. I'm just going with what I remember the most. So, all right, Larry, enjoy it. Get over there. Is the speaking of restrictions, we're close. Is the mask restriction lifted here for the Chrysler Center tonight?
No. Masks are still required, and you have to show either your vaccination card or proof of a recent negative test. It's both Ann Arbor and East Lansing. That is still the case. Not a Big Ten wide policy, but one here in the great state of Michigan. But I think we're getting closer to the end of this situation, but. Just when you think you're set, a buddy of mine, his wife and his daughter just got it the other day. So it's humbled all of us, and hopefully we've all learned something from it.
Well, I can tell you this, that I have learned over the years by going to the Michigan State game. You mentioned, I don't know, listless or not overly energetic crowd against Illinois on Sunday afternoon. The Michigan fans will be forced into making noise tonight because the State fans that get in there, they'll be going bonkers, and it just forces Michigan fans. The atmosphere always goes up because if not, State fans would take over, and then it just engages Michigan fans, which is, it makes it great, and that's part of it. So,
well, Chrysler's always, I shouldn't say always, Chrysler is a aesthetically beautiful arena. I still can't believe what they did with the place in the same footprint of the old drab place I grew up going to games. But
mausoleum,
yes, but it has never been regularly a raucous place. But tonight it will be. Because, as you say, there'll be Michigan State fans in there, so Michigan fans will have to be ready to bring it, and they will. So it should be a fun matchup. 8:30 tip, not the latest tip of the week this week, though. We got a 9 o'clock one coming up on Thursday, so it might need a pregame nap.
Oh, and Iowa's in there as a ranked team, so you'll be there. I know. There you go. They've just slid in there. All right, Larry, we appreciate it. Always appreciate your time. Welcome back. Get your pregame stuff in. We appreciate your time and enjoy the game tonight.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right. Take care. There he is. Larry Lage. That's going to do it here for Afternoon Live. Reminder, we're here every day at 1 o'clock. Plus, we're on after every Michigan football and basketball game. So guess what? We'll be on tonight. Larry mentioned it, and you can see it there on the crawl. If you let it crawl for just a couple more seconds. This game is an 8:30 tip. That means they generally take, 2 hours, 15 minutes. So what are we talking about tonight? 9:30, 10:30, 10:45, between 10:45 and 11 o'clock for the post game tonight. Beyond here, hopefully talking about, from a Michigan standpoint, the Wolverines looking pretty good. I know this. There'll be a lot of however you're thinking about bracketology, and you look at the quads and look at everything else. I like all that myself. Michigan wins tonight over Michigan State. The optimism is going to be high about the Wolverines being able to do something and get into the NCAA tournament. It ends up on the wrong side. It's going to be pessimism. And this team might miss the tournament, and all of that. So they'll do well, and it's good that they got a game coming back right on Thursday. Anyway, it works here. The rescheduled game that's sandwiched in here. I like, that there wasn't a lot of time to sit around and stew about Illinois. They're right back at it, and whatever happens tonight, they got to get back, and then they got to play Iowa coming up on Thursday before Sunday. So, pessimism, optimism, however it goes. I have picked Michigan in this game here. Michigan, the first time these two teams played at the end of January in East Lansing, I liked how Michigan came out and fought and played in that game for the first 16, 17 minutes of the first half. I didn't like how they closed. They got down 4 at the break in East Lansing, but it was the start of the second half that was the deciding factor in the game. Michigan State came out in the second half, and they just put the hammer down. Hunter Dickinson didn't score till under 8 minutes to go in the game, and Michigan got outscored 14-3 to start the second half. Can't have those kind of long, obviously, and it all seems obvious tonight. Can't have all those long runs by the opponent here. Got to shoot well. Can't turn the ball over. And your best player, you know what? Larry said, the best player's got to be the best players. Michigan's best player, Hunter Dickinson. Go to Hunter Dickinson and, establish him and play off of him. And you know what? If it's not going to be him, go to the double D. And that is Dickinson and Diabate. Michigan's game plan here, now that it's turned March, we've seen it. Michigan's identity, their focus, it's not about, hey, let's pass it around and let's see how our jumper's going. It's about driving the lane. It's about getting the ball into the low post. If it's not Dickinson, it's Diabate. And if it's not those two, it's Devontae Jones driving the lane. That's what this team is. They're not a great outside shooting team. That's not going to change now that we're here into March. They're also not very good defensively, man up or playing the pick and roll. That's not going to change. So that's who they are. So the focus needs to be on doing what they do well, and then having the energy and desperation in those other areas. Certainly, it's not going to pass up a wide open shot, but I don't think this team's like, going to hit 9 of 15 from downtown. It'll be more like 3 of 11. So they got to get down and do what they do, and that's playing from the post and out with the two guys, and that needs to be that is going to be their game plan. And we'll see how effective it's going to be tonight. We'll talk with you after the game, a little bit before 11 o'clock. I'll be here. Thanks to Larry Lage for joining us, and you for watching and listening. Talk with